What's going on, everyone? It's the Fantasy Football Almanac back at it with another fantasy football video. Today we are going to be talking about buy low 2023 Dynasty running backs. You can go out and get your leagues right now today. But before we get into it, if you guys could go down and give this video a like. I'm answering every question. So you guys have any Dynasty questions, trade questions, anything, we'd love to help you all out, even free agency, anything. Please go down below, ask away, and subscribe to the channel. Turn that notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that though, guys, let's hop right into it with our first running back. And our first guy is David Montgomery. David Montgomery recently signing with the Detroit Lions, 3 years, $18 million, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, $6 million a year, but actually ranks him as the 14th highest paid running back in all of football, and he's getting that for 3 years. Currently, he steps into one of the messiest situations in football, so at first I was a little confused, did not want to draft David Montgomery, but upon further analysis, I felt more and more inclined to draft David Montgomery by the day. For one, the Lions have arguably the best O-line in all of football. Pro Football Focus ranks them at 3. That's good enough for me. A fantastic offensive line in a great system. I mean, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown on offense. You have Jared Goff, a good system QB, somebody who's not going to run the ball much. So he's willing to check down to the running back. You can't ask for much more than what the Lions offer from a rushing standpoint, especially considering what he's coming from. The Bears' offensive line has consistently been one of the most disgusting O-lines since David Montgomery joined them 4 years ago, ranking 31st in terms of PFF grade as of last year. So David Montgomery is getting a huge upgrade in situation, but not only that, the Lions let tons of snaps go in free agency. We see Jamal Williams, the leading snap guy, go to the Saints. I mean, 447 snaps just vanishing from the team for David Montgomery's taking. I know they have DeAndre Swift, and I know DeAndre Swift has tons of promise and is very talented. But at the same time, this organization goes out and brings in David Montgomery. I'm going to follow the money on David Montgomery here, and the fact that David Montgomery is significantly cheaper than DeAndre Swift, yet he will probably be the leader of this running back room. I mean, right now on Keep Trade Cut, David Montgomery is the running back 25, and David Montgomery and DeAndre Swift is the running back 19, so I'll take the discount on David Montgomery considering I think he will be a better player in this offense, and I think a lot of fantasy managers, especially fantasy managers who believe in DeAndre Swift, especially with this surge at the end of last season, potentially won some people some championships despite having a very poor overall season. You could spin a narrative that DeAndre Swift is going to be the lead dog in this offense, and I think a lot of people would buy into that. So I think you can get David Montgomery for pretty cheap, to be 100% honest. Just looking at it right now, there are 11 rookies going ahead of him on Keep Trade Cut, meaning maybe the 112, but realistically, I think 2 second-round picks could get the job done. And for a running back that I think could be a middle-of-the-pack running back 2 next season, I think that is absolutely worth it. Why not go take a shot on him? I think he will be the lead dog. And DeAndre Swift, also, one last point. Historically, he has been made of glass. He has not played a full season in his NFL career, and I am not one to believe in the term injury prone in general. But like I said, DeAndre Swift has not played a full season yet in the NFL. It's been 3 seasons. I would like to see him play a full season before I can confidently say he's not injury prone. But again, this is the NFL, so I think it is a small point, but just something worth noting. The next guy I want to talk about is Damien Harris, and I think the case for Damien Harris lies in how much you believe in James Cook and how much, I guess, you believe in Damien Harris as well. But I think the Bills showed through their actions they do not believe in James Cook that much. I know he was a rookie, and so these splits aren't exactly 100% representative of how they're going to feel about him next year. But just last year, we see Devin Singletary easily dominate the total amount of snaps the Bills were offering, finishing with 757 of the team's total snaps. James Cook, a mere 301. You also have Nyheim Hines and Zach Moss having 150 snaps total. So James Cook controlled less than 30% of the offensive snaps when he was on the field. And this is somebody that they went out and spent a second-round pick on, somebody they expect to start right away, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. Yes, they move on from Devin Singletary, but it seemed they've wanted to move on from Devin Singletary for a long while. I mean, the Bills tried making a move on Chase Edmonds. They tried making a move on Christian McCaffrey. They clearly want a running back. And Damien Harris, for 1 year, was a very solid running back with the Patriots. I'm not going to say he was great. I'm not going to say he was one of the best running backs of all time, but he was a decent running back. I mean, this is a running back who's had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage in the season before. Not to say James Cook can't do that. He certainly looked decent. I mean, 507 rushing yards in your rookie season plus 180 receiving yards. I mean, that's about 700 total yards. So it is pretty good, but I think there is a good chance that Damien Harris could take the lead role in this offense because we haven't necessarily seen the Bills put their faith into James Cook. Also, just looking at their depth chart, the Bills do have Damien Harris listed as their running back 1. Again, another promising sign for Damien Harris, not so much for James Cook. And, well, I don't necessarily want to be out on James Cook because it is just them two in this offense. I think both are good players. Damien Harris is the cheaper one, with Damien Harris coming off the board as the running back 44, whereas James Cook is the running back 28 over on Keep Trade Cut. And the difference in terms of ADP is even higher. Damien Harris coming off the board at 152, James Cook at 98. So Damien Harris is the much cheaper option, yet I think he will command over 50% of the snaps and take over that Devin Singletary role, and he might even be better than Devin Singletary. We'll have to see, but I think Damien Harris is a good bet simply because he's so cheap and has a good chance to take over the starting role in one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL. The next guy I want to talk about is Tyler Allgeier, and Tyler Allgeier is in a great situation for what he does as an NFL running back. I mean, first of all, Arthur Smith is the perfect head coach for any NFL running back. I mean, he's somebody who's going to ground and pound it day in and day out. That's how Tyler Allgeier was able to have over 1,000 yards, despite being in a pretty poor situation overall. I mean, we're talking a middle-of-the-pack offensive line. I actually do think they're a little above middle of the pack, but not a terrific offensive line. But having a quarterback like Desmond Ridder does not do much for your team. I mean, they bring in Heineke, so a little bit better, but it's still not going to be great from that front. You have Kyle Pitts and Drake London, who are great wide receivers, but with no quarterback to throw to them. I think they're going to be running the ball way more than pretty much any other team, aside from maybe the Bears. Not only that, we saw in Tyler Allgeier's rookie year, he commanded a pretty significant portion of the snaps in this offense, 481 total snaps. Next best was Cordarrelle Patterson, an established veteran who had a mere 362. Then you have Caleb Huntley with 118. It's clear that they want to make Allgeier the full-time starter, and barring a phenomenal running back coming in the draft, I think he will stay that way. Especially considering the Falcons are pretty much out on the Bijan lottery. I mean, they pick at 8. If they pick Bijan, I'm sorry, Allgeier's totally done. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. But then they'll pick again till 44, which pretty much eliminates them from the Bijan lottery. Maybe they could move up, or maybe they take a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs. But I don't think a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs or Zach Charbonnet really fits their scheme, because they're not a team who's going to be throwing many checkdowns to the running back position. So I'm pretty certain Allgeier will be the main running back. I think they will bring in somebody else because the depth chart of Cordarrelle Patterson and Caleb Huntley is not great. But I don't think they're going to bring in any serious threat. Maybe spend a 4th round pick on a nice backup running back, an auxiliary piece, so that Tyler Allgeier can have a breather back. But again, nothing crazy. I think Tyler Allgeier will continue to go up from here, as now he's going to be the full-time starter in this offense. But let's move on to our next running back. I wanted to save the 2 oldest guys for last. These are both win-now guys. Guys you can go out there and get if you are, let's say, the 3rd best team, the 2nd best team. They're not going to cost you an insane amount, but they do have the potential to win you your league, win you a week with their play. The first guy I'm talking about is Rashaad Penny. I think Rashaad Penny's in a really interesting situation. He does join the Eagles, who just got rid of Miles Sanders, and Miles Sanders was a great running back for the Eagles, now gone to the Panthers. Now this depth chart looks pretty desolate. We have Kenny Gainwell, we have Boston Scott, but nothing crazy here. And now Rashaad Penny, who's historically been a very talented running back, but has dealt with injury after injury after injury, gets another shot to be the running back 1 in an offense. And this is a very, very risky pick. Somebody who could easily get injured again. I mean, this is somebody who, I say I don't believe in injury prone, but Rashaad Penny could easily be injury prone. With the amount of times he's been injured, with the lack of play he's had on any given season, I just can't see any way to say he's not injury prone. But when he's on the field, he's one of the most dominant running backs in the NFL, averaging 5.7 yards per attempt since his league debut in 2018. And when the Seahawks gave him the full workload in 2021, he looked absolutely dominant. As this is someone who, in a 6-game span when he was healthy to end the season, ended with 117 rushing yards per game, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, this is somebody who has the 1st-round draft capital, the talent to be a great running back, just hasn't been able to put it together due to injuries. Now he joins a team with one of the best offensive lines in football. I mean, again, you could argue them or the Lions or the Browns or the Chiefs, but either way, a top 4 offensive line in football and one of the best systems in football. I mean, you have a phenomenal quarterback in Jalen Hurts, who also fits Rashaad Penny's strengths, because Rashaad Penny is not a pass catcher. Jalen Hurts is not going to be checking the ball down much. You also have phenomenal wide receivers who will spread the floor even more for Rashaad Penny. I think this could create a perfect storm for Rashaad Penny. And while I wouldn't count on it, I think there is a sub 30% chance that Rashaad Penny does fulfill what I'm saying he's going to fulfill here. If he does, his ceiling is league breaking. So that's why I think he's worth it to take a shot on, and he's cheap. He's not really going for all that much. On Keep Trade Cut, he's a running back 41 right now, so I don't think you're going to have to pay a pretty penny for Rashaad Penny. But let's move on to our last running back here. And that is, I'm going to say it, I'm sorry, disgusting name here, disgusting name alert. If kids are watching, turn it off. You don't want to see this. But I'm talking about Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel Elliott's fall from grace is to be expected for older running backs, but at the same time, he still had a pretty good last season. I'll get into that in a bit. But last year, on Keep Trade Cut, before the season started, he was listed as the running back 23, falls all the way down to the running back 55, 56 even. And I was not buying him at the running back 23 price point. I do not think that's worth it at all. I mean, that's a low-end running back 2 for a guy who has a year or two left in the NFL. Now that the price point has realized that he's probably not going to be that elite running back that he has been in years past, I'm fine buying into him as the running back 56. I'm actually more than fine. I am grateful to buy into Zeke at the running back 56. Now, I know he's not on a team right now, but Ezekiel Elliott will 100% be signed. I mean, there's no doubt about that. It's not like Ezekiel Elliott's going to retire. He was still the running back 22 on a PPR basis in fantasy football last year. This is also someone who, until last year, has never finished below the running back 13 in PPR or standard scoring. So Zeke, we know he's a phenomenal running back, or was a phenomenal running back. And while I will admit he has lost a step, he has narrowed his search down to 3 teams who he potentially wants to play for, 2 of which I think are phenomenal, and 1 of which would instantly kill his value. The first of which is the Bengals. I think if he goes to the Bengals, Joe Mixon will almost certainly get cut, because you're paying Zeke, $4 or $5 million compared to Joe Mixon's 10, and the contract will be a lot shorter term for a guy like Zeke. I mean, you're signing Zeke to a 1-year deal, maybe a 2-year deal at most. And we've seen running backs have success in this Bengals offense, whether we're talking about Samaje, whether we're talking about Joe Mixon. So I would be very, very happy to buy into Zeke if he went to the Bengals. The other team he named was the Eagles. I would be pretty happy about the Eagles because, as I said about Rashaad Penny, I think the odds are low that he ends up being a phenomenal running back, but the odds are there. And if they do bring in Zeke, they're not bringing in anyone else. It will be Zeke and Rashaad Penny being the show, and Zeke will be joining a phenomenal team with a phenomenal offensive line. This is pretty much the same reasons I gave for Rashaad Penny here. But the last team Zeke has reportedly wanted to go to is the New York Jets. That would be devastating. I mean, that would pretty much kill Zeke's value entirely. You have Breece Hall there, enough said. But 2 of the 3 teams would make Zeke at least a good running back yet again. And again, at the running back 56 price point, I'm fine buying in. I mean, that pretty much means you're paying a 3rd-round pick. And realistically, how often do these 3rd-round picks hit? So I'm fine if you are a contending team to go out there and buy Zeke, at least for cheap. I mean, I would not want to pay a 2nd-round pick for Zeke, but at the running back 56, going in between Samaje Perine and Michael Carter, I think that's a fine value considering, I mean, for one, Samaje Perine is the same age as Ezekiel Elliott, and yet he's never had even close to the season that Ezekiel Elliott's had, and Michael Carter is going to be a career backup. Almost guaranteed. Isaiah Spiller, I would much rather have Zeke. Between him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I would much rather have Zeke. I mean, all these guys going around Zeke, I would much rather take Zeke. And believe me, I am all for selling early in Dynasty. I mean, look at my video 2 days ago. I'll link it somewhere up here. Dynasty changes so quick. If you had sold Zeke 2 years ago, you would have made so much from selling him. But now if you sell him, you're selling him for pretty much pennies on the dollar. And this is when I think it might be a good time to buy. I mean, I think personally it's better to sell a year too early than a year too late. Now at this point with Zeke, we're looking at the fact that it's probably a year too late for the Zeke owner to sell and get big bucks for Zeke. So the Zeke owner is looking for anything they can get. Why not try a 3rd-round pick for a guy who potentially has mid running back 2 upside if he finds himself in the right offense? and we will know in a couple days whether he does or not. But I think it is worth it to try and go out and get him in free agency right now. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it from me. Hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, go give this video a like. I'm answering any comments. If you guys have any questions, please let me know down below. And subscribe to the channel. Turn the notification bell on so you don't miss another video. With that, though, guys, as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.